Hi, everyone. My name is Christian Ramirez, and I'm the Public Programs Manager at Phoenix Art Museum. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on our first ever virtual presentation of A First Friday. Tonight, we'll see new works from Arizona State University's Advanced Media Design and Media Design Application courses. Sorry. And I'm sad to not be able to be in the museum with you all today, but very, very grateful to the flexibility and ingenuity of these amazing students. And a very big shout out to their professor, Max Bernstein, who was instrumental in making this all happen. And also just a big shout out to all of the teachers right now who are doing everything that they can to support their students at this moment. I'd also like to thank all of our museum members who, without their continued support, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. So I hope you'd consider joining today or donating towards this Pay What You Wish program if you're able to. And yeah, thanks so much again for being here. We honestly cannot wait to reopen the museum and be with you all again soon. And enjoy. I'll let these guys take it away.
Hello, and welcome to a presentation of Signs and Signals presented to you live and virtually by the Phoenix Art Museum. I'm Max Bernstein, and I will be your host this evening. This evening's program was created by artists working with media for live and time-based spaces as a part of Arizona State University's Media Design Applications and Advanced Media Design for Performance courses. Please bear with me while I attempt to stay ahead of any technical difficulties. First up, we have a work by Olivia Hernandez, aka Oh No. And the work is entitled Solve This Riddle. What is modern but never sick, always round but never infinite? This work is a 3-chapter vignette animation traversing 2D, 3D, and 4D realms, inspired by a collage text of AI-generated tweets in collaboration with chatbot @MagicRealismBot. Please enjoy. All right. Thank you, Olivia. Thank you for that magical piece. Up next, we have a live mediated performance by Delia Ibanez entitled For Vandling. For Vandling is an aestheticized collection of research shaping Delia's upcoming body of work entitled Rare Sea, which will be showcased in November of this year. It's an experiment in treating the creative process as divine in order for the artist's work to be its own world. Please enjoy.
Look out. Think about how our knowledge sits in space. Your home is small in the grand scheme of the universe, but your knowledge of it is so full. Look out to your neighborhood. You know the twists and turns of the street, and that if you leave the house at a certain time, you'll make it to work exactly 5 minutes early. Your knowledge about your personal relationships is dense, but as you move out through acquaintances and neighbors, knowledge, understanding, thin. Each of us exists in a sort of stack of spheres, getting larger and larger, thinner and more diluted as you move away from yourself. Diluted in terms of knowing, and that is how we navigate in the universe. Anthony Farrell, a South African astronomer, describes the universe as being like an egg. At its core, a yolk is dense, opaque, full of nutrients. The egg white is transparent and mostly made of water. It is more diluted. The egg is a symbol of growth. It acts like a womb cultivating new life, but is unattached. It has agency. It has everything it needs to create, innately packaged inside. Look out. Think about how our knowledge sits in space. Your home is small in the grand scheme of the universe, but your knowledge of it is so full. Look out to your neighborhood. You know the twists and turns of the street, and that if you leave the house at a certain time, you'll make it to work exactly 5 minutes early. Your knowledge about your personal relationships is dense, but as you move out through acquaintances and neighbors, knowledge, understanding, thin. Each of us exists in a sort of stack of spheres, getting larger and larger, thinner and more diluted as you move away from yourself. Diluted in terms of knowing, and that is how we navigate in the universe. Anthony Farrell, a South African astronomer, describes the universe as being like an egg. At its core, a yolk is dense, opaque, full of nutrients. The egg white is transparent and mostly made of water. It is more diluted. The egg is a symbol of growth. It acts like a womb cultivating new life, but is unattached. It has agency. It has everything it needs to create, innately packaged inside. Our universe can be viewed in much the same way as an egg. According to Big Bang Theory, the universe was once hot and densely packed. It would have been much like the sun is today. If we were able to move around in it, the universe would have been foggy, but almost entirely opaque. As time passed and the universe cooled, the gases spread into the transparent space we see today. At the center, knowledge is dense, opaque, somewhat unclear. As we move out, it thins and we can see. In the egg, this is physicalized. But in the case of the universe, we add the dimension of time. I've come into this understanding by studying creation stories from around the world. There are a few types that most of these fall into, most broadly that the universe came from nothing, or that the universe was formed out of something, often an egg or clay. Nothingness, or creatio ex nihilo, initially drew me in. Nothingness seems to be so absolute. However, in many cases, that nothing is actually described as darkness or a sea or a vacuum or chaos. We want to be able to contextualize nothingness, but the actual absence of existence is hard to grasp. It often seems sinister. If the whole universe came out of nothing, then we can transmute anything out of nothingness by understanding one thing. Nothing is a veil. It is not a tangible thing, but rather the thin space between the known and the unknown. Nothing has range. When you look through a veil, it is not opaque. The other side is not empty, but it is unclear. From far off, the veil is a curtain, a stopping point, a boundary. However, it is not a wall. We can pull it aside and keep searching onward. Creation from nothing could be seen as creation from everything beyond the point of knowing. The veil, that point between known and unknown, locks in potential. The common egg has a membrane that holds the shell together, again locking in potential, separating the world from the creature that is going to be. Powdered eggshells are used in ceremonies for protection and nourishment to hold in what is needed and keep out what is not. Jen from Zombie Apothecary is a local Santeria practitioner who described this tradition to me. The eggshell is a symbol of potential. When it is crushed from the outside, life has ended. Creation cannot take place. But crushed from the inside, it is the beginning of new life. The only way to identify the inside from the outside is by the membrane, the veil. The eggshell is used as a substitution for a white clay that is found only in places marked as sacred ground.
But rather the thin space between the known and the unknown. Thinner and more diluted. It acts like a womb, cultivating new life, but is unattached. It has agency.
and we can see. I have been looking at these ideas as a way of making art, as an understanding that my experiences and my existence are enough. With help over the past weeks, I see that this applies to life. As Jen told me, you keep pressing through. Knead the clay till it becomes what you say it should be.
Wonderful. Thank you, Delia. Thank you very much. Next, we have a video by Glenna Negron entitled Break Your Heart. In this short film with no dialogue, the narrative is represented through movement and color, telling the story of 4 friends torn apart by pride, anger, jealousy, and death. Please enjoy. All right. Thank you, Glenna. Thank you for making something so relaxing in such a tumultuous time. Just a quick tangent. I want to say a huge thanks to the Phoenix Art Museum for their generous support. We are deeply grateful to be a part of your community, and thank you very much for letting us do this. Just a quick tangent from that. I think it's important just to say arts institutions, nonprofits, and artists are among the many who have really been unseen entities and been deeply affected and neglected by our current crisis. And anything that any of you out there in the public can do to support artists and art institutions will greatly improve the quality of life for all of us. Okay, back to the show. Next up, we have Ree Lindegren. We have a guided tour by Ree. This is a virtual museum that showcases elements of a project entitled Dear Spine. In this work, the artist explores the relationship between personal memories and the biological function of their spine through self-made postcards, letters, and video dances. Let me just check the chat here to make sure that there isn't anything wrong. Great, okay, wonderful. Without further ado, I will hand it over to you, Ree.
Thank you. This project emerged out of my interest in the human body, healing, technology, and audience participatory work as a dancer and filmmaker. For many years, I've been exploring somatic awareness in my own body and thinking about how to translate the idea of tuning in and listening to the sensations, thoughts, feelings, and emotions I'm experiencing. I understand somatics as first-person awareness of yourself, a way to direct attention to the internal sensations of your own body so that you can understand yourself better. I've crafted a virtual museum tour that follows the shape of your spine and internal connections with an emphasis on the 3 mobile sections of your spine and a shout out to the 2 that are fused. This project is completely interactive through your virtual screen with actions you can do in your physical world. I encourage you to open the link that Christian will share in a moment and explore the space on your own time. And first, there's a link for ocean sounds to support your journey. I encourage you to pull it up and play it in the background at home to get a sense of space and time, or find your own sounds that you would like to listen to. Oh, and then I need to send Christian, I'm so sorry, I need to send you the link for this as well. All right, so let's begin. I first got really into my spine this January when I was trying to figure out how we find a sense of home in our own bodies. What does it mean to be at home in ourselves? Where does that sense of home live? Is it in the heart, the hips, the way we sit? What does it feel like when we are not at home with ourselves? When we wish to be somewhere else, someone else, in another body, in another time, a different place? For me, the sense of home, the sense of self and connection to myself and others came as I learned more about the many shapes and rhythms and qualities of movement that came through and around my spine. I also learned some fun facts about the human spine. The bones of your spine weigh on average roughly 43.5 grams. That's as much as 43 small paper clips or 6 pennies. Your spine is half the weight of a single eyeball. Your head weighs an average of 11 pounds or 5 kilograms, meaning that 6 pennies are able to hold the weight of a gallon of paint, or an average-sized cat. Your brain, that thing of mystery and consciousness and brilliance with at least 30 different parts, weighs about 1.35 kilograms or 3 pounds. 3.5 brains would equal the weight of your whole head. Your skeleton carries it all, weighing in at 43 paper clips strong, holding up the mass of a gallon of paint, your skull, that is almost 115 times its weight. That is just one of its many incredible feats. You hold superhero strength inside you every day, and you don't even realize it. What I'm really trying to say with all these numbers is that I think we get so lost in the thoughts and feelings and memories of the struggles of daily existence that we don't stop to marvel at what we already have, to appreciate all that it does for us, and give it a little TLC in return. My version of TLC for my spine usually involves a lot of dancing and yoga and sleep with a dash of acupuncture and chiropractic assistance. I've been a little short on all of these routines lately with COVID-19 running rampant, and I've adapted to quick stretch breaks, walks around the neighborhood, tiny dances in my living room, and being more aware of how I've been sitting in front of a computer screen and for how long. I thought another way I could appreciate my spine would be to send it a series of postcards. Letters of love, apology, and gratitude for all the hell I've put it through, and how it has never stopped supporting my many adventures, losses, accomplishments, and memories from where we've been together. Along the way, I've scattered some action points where you can stop and take a moment of TLC for your own spine. No two spines are the same, just as no two humans are exactly alike, no matter how much DNA we may or may not share. Our spines physically carry the emotional toll of daily life, as the forces of oppression shape our bodies in very different ways. It is my hope that by sharing a few of my stories, you will share a few of yours, and that the spirit of sharing and appreciating our spines together will create a sense of community and connection through the portal of an increasingly virtual world. Dear Nose, I am so grateful for the ability to breathe. I am sorry that my allergies and deviated septum have made your job more difficult, and unintentionally running into walls as a small child certainly didn't help. I am particularly concerned about your exposure to airborne viruses at the moment, so please forgive the bruising that may occur from the face masks I feel are necessary to wear. But it's really for your own good, because having the flu or a cold is a nose's worst nightmare. You are connected to the first 4 vertebrae of my spine, C1 through C4, out of 7 in my cervical spine. You help me hold up the whole world of my head and all the sensory parts it holds: ears, eyes, tongue, and nervous system. In moments of pain or unpleasant odors, please remember all those times you smelled the deep salt air of the ocean and inhaled fresh air. There was that one time you sailed down sand dunes in a cardboard box sled as a child, the wind rushing through your nostrils as I inhaled gasps of delight. A time before the hurricanes came and wiped everything away and they put up fences to keep people out and build the dunes back up. It's the first memory I have of my middle brother and his 2 kids, and reminds me of happier times in Florida with family. It was an act of bending forward in my upper spine, a strong C-curve enveloped by other C-curves, squished together by the force of gravity as we zoomed down each dune. I am not sure if smelling flowers is pleasant for you, because you always sneeze so much, so I've been avoiding taking deep breaths near the beautiful cacti flowers and orange blossoms in bloom. I will continue to take my allergy meds in times of high pollen. I hope that makes you feel loved. Thank you for filtering through the smorgasbord of smells and dust and pollution every day, and for the thoughtful way you coordinate and share space with the rest of the organs held in my skull. Much love, Ree. This is a collage of found images assembled in Photoshop representing this childhood memory for me. I encourage you to all take a deep breath together. A big inhale, and exhale, and inhale, and exhale. And then place your 2 fingers right by your nose and give your sinuses a little bit of a massage. This is an excerpt from a short dance film that I made that is inspired by the sensation of breathing like the ocean waves, explorations of my cervical spine, and embodied memories of movement. And there is a link that Christian will share in the chat, and you can also find it on the page itself. If you go in and click, it has the link to the Vimeo page. Feel free to go and watch it on your own time. Dear heart and stomach, you two are quite a pair. As you may or may not know from your genetic makeup, our family comes from a long line of stomach to heart pipeline problems. Together, we have a propensity for diabetes, high blood pressure, stroke, and heart attack, to name a few. I watched my father struggle through various health issues over the years that, when combined with hours of sitting and lack of exercise, contributed to his early death. I felt the loss of him directly inside the hollow of my rib cage, the space held up by my thoracic spine, the place that houses both of you. My extended family always gathered together for holidays, birthdays, funerals, and weddings over food and kinship in the South. The kitchen was king and everything centered around the meal. I remember fondly making biscuits with my granny and feeling loved, and the satisfaction of flaky buttermilk biscuits on my taste buds. Maybe you skipped a few beats, dear heart. I don't know if they made you, dear stomach and digestive tract, feel particularly happy though, as white flour and butter and salt are not kind to most bodies. I might have accidentally helped you both out at the age of 15 by turning vegan and remaining vegetarian for another 17 years. But I have also intentionally paid attention to what I eat and how it affects my mental and physical health. So here are some slightly healthier biscuits, but still heavy on the butter and salt, that I've started making instead. I hope you appreciate how much more thoughtful I've been about the foods I put in my body, and how grateful I am every day that my heart keeps pumping and my stomach digests all the things I send its way. I will keep dancing in and out of the kitchen, moving my thoracic spine as much as I can, and learning new ways to love vegetables and healthy snacks. Love, Ree. This is a Photoshop collage of biscuits and cookie cutters that was meant to be a sketch for a 3D model animation that will be made hopefully in the near future. I encourage you to take a moment and place one hand on your belly, on your stomach, and one hand on your heart, and gently give them a little rub in circular motions. Little appreciation. This is a slightly longer dance film and baking video inspired by the grandmothers and elders in my life who brought me joy and fed my heart. And this is Ada Claire Flowers, over and out. And this is Ada Claire Flowers, over and out. So there should be audio here, but I will read it to you out loud, live and in person. Dear Bladder, I don't remember the monumental day you learned the power of contract and release, but I am grateful every day for your role in keeping me hydrated. I don't have fond memories of potty training, or really any memories at all, but I know it wasn't easy to figure out how to hold in vast amounts of liquid on a schedule, or to wait for a specific location to become available. I know you really became an expert on the many long road trips my family went on as a child. The impatience I had to be at the next place as fast as possible really improved your capacity. For kids, it is always about the destination, never the journey. I would like to offer you partial credit for the increased flexibility in my hips and lumbar spine, as my inability to sit still is directly connected to perpetually finding new positions to sit in during long car rides, as well as the speed at which I can locomotor to the nearest bathroom. You are connected to lumbar vertebrae 2 through 5, as well as 5 sacral vertebrae. So it's no wonder a full bladder is connected to lower back pain and vice versa. Thank you for keeping me dry, and in return, I will continue to wiggle, loosen, and strengthen my lumbar spine as much as possible for you. Much love, Bree. This is a hand-drawn recreation of a childhood memory spent in transit listening to NPR that is also intended to be a 3D model, but nothing quite captures nostalgia like colored crayons on paper. And so for this, I encourage you to place your hand on your lower abdomen and move your hips in a circle. And maybe put you together, contraction, and then relax them and feel a sense of release. And thank your bladder for all that it does. Action. Massage for your low back. Lay flat on the floor, or on a bed, or on a couch, but a harder surface will be more effective. Your legs can rest flat on the floor, or with your knees bent towards the ceiling, so that your feet are flat on the floor. Your feet should be roughly 2 fist lengths apart, and you should be able to see the number 11 with your feet, either lying down or with your knees bent towards the ceiling. Your heel to toe connection should be straight, not turned in or turned out, with your toes reaching directly towards the sky. Initiate from your heels in either position to tilt your pelvis back towards the floor, as if your belly button could reach back through your spine and behind it. Then release and repeat, moving your belly button front to back, or your pubic bone from front to back, whatever is more helpful for you. It is really subtle work. It should feel like a nice massage on your lower back as you continue to tilt and release your pelvis, never lifting it off the ground. And now we have reached the part of the tour where I invite you to have a postcard stop. You can grab a piece of paper, a pen, some markers to write a letter to your spine. You can also, there's a series of links that Christian will share with you that are digital links to ways to draw experiences from your spine online, or to be able to send an e-postcard or to mail it to me. Dear Spine Stories, now it's your turn. Using the website sketch.io, draw an image of what you imagine your spine to be from the inside out. Memories, sensations, aspirations, whatever you are drawn to. This will be the front of your postcard. Then on the back, write a letter of love, apology, and or gratitude to a part or the whole of your spine. Sign it and send it. You can send your image and letter via email to spinedances@gmail.com. Mark private if it's just for me, mark public if it's okay to share. A series of dances inspired by these stories may emerge in the form of dance films. Stay tuned. And the sketch links are also listed up above if you would like to do this. Or come back later and try it out another time. Lastly, at the end of the spine, we have the sacrum, which are 5 fused vertebrae, and the coccyx, which are 4 typically fused vertebrae, although not everyone has fully fused vertebrae in their coccyx. And so this is a fun experience to try and wag your tailbone.
Action. Try and wag your tailbone. It may be easiest to try this in a tabletop position on the floor, with your shoulders over your wrists, your hips over your knees, keeping a slight bend in your elbows, with your stomach engaged and your belly button lifting towards the back of your spine. Pretend you have a long, luscious tail, any color, texture, or shape of your imagination, and explore how it can move from side to side, from front to back, in a circle, in a spiral, in a figure 8. How does your tailbone shake? What do you notice in your pelvis and hips? How does it connect to your head and the rest of your spine?
So here is just a visual representation of the lumbar spine. We'll go back slightly. Up close and personal with the lumbar spine, 5 vertebrae. I think what is nice to realize about the lumbar spine is that it's connected to your large intestine and bladder. And there's a visual representation if you had any questions. And another action. Hope you're comfortable in a nice sitting position. And this is the sitting dance, which there is also not a recording for right now. Action, sitting dance. When you find yourself sitting for a little too long, try out this dance in your chair or on a long car ride. Rock your pelvis front to back 4 times. Sway side to side 6 times. Circle your pelvis to the right 3 times. Circle your pelvis to the left 3 times. Make a figure 8 with your hips. Lift one foot off the floor and put it back down. Repeat with the other foot. Keep lifting your feet off the floor until you are marching or running in place. And then when you feel like you've done enough of that, lean forward and keep your back straight, feeling a little arch as you reach up to the sky. Tuck your tailbone and make a tiny C as you contract your spine forward, and your upper spine is going forward and your lower spine is going back. And then wiggle and shake your whole spine until you feel great. Tiny sitting dance. Next, we have the thoracic spine with 12 vertebrae, as represented by this beautiful visual here. I think what's nice to know about the thoracic spine is that it's all of the core organs of your body. Your neck, throat, liver, lungs, stomach, pancreas, liver, spleen, kidney, etc. are all housed in your thoracic spine. So it's very important for the functioning of your body. And inspired by Ida Claire, who I hope you go back and watch her video later, here's a moving recipe. Find a recipe you love and discover the gestures of how you move when you make it. Walk through how you would actually make this recipe from beginning to end. How would you hold the spoon, or the whisk, or the knife, the mixing bowl, or the pan? How do you open cabinets and ovens and turn on stoves? How do you reach for things from the fridge or pantry? What is your spine doing when you are doing all of these things? Is your upper, middle, or lower spine initiating your movement? Is there anything you would change or do differently to make the task more loving towards your spine and the rest of your body? Now, if you do just the gestures of the recipe quickly all together, you have a dance. And you can do a bonus round where you remix the gestures in a different order and see what happens. It could also be interesting trying to cook things in this way. I know I found in making the video of Ida Claire that the task of whisking something was very exhausting for my shoulder and the upper part of my spine. Last, we have the cervical spine with 7 vertebrae as shown here in this lovely skeletal image. I think what's really cool to know about the cervical spine is that it holds the typical things you think of, like your nasal palate, your nose, brain, sinus, ears, eyes, etc. But the very top vertebrae, right up here, is your atlas, actually connects to the entire part of your whole body, including your lungs, heart, kidney, spleen, stomach, thyroid, and throat. So it's a really full body connection, and the rest of it also connects to different parts of your body. So it serves a lot of important functions. So this is a corner massage as a COVID-19 tribute. I think it's very important that we give our cervical spines a lot of love as we're staring at computer screens right now. So I encourage you to find a wall corner and gently massage the space between your shoulder blades and vertebrae. Be sure to get all around the scapula and the tops of your shoulders. If you haven't found a wall corner yet, I encourage you to try this one out. It's not too scary. Be sure to get all of the scapula, all around the scapula and the tops of your shoulders, all those muscles around your clavicle, maybe even the place where your neck connects to your skull. Be very gentle with yourself and don't overdo it. If you have a tennis ball or other small ball, you can place it between the wall and your back. Avoid rolling the wall edge or the ball directly across your vertebra. Remember, your vertebrae are strong, but they protect delicate nerves. Use ocean breaths to stand and relax into the points of tension you find. And when I say ocean breaths, I mean breaths like are used in the first video that perhaps you will watch later, but I also mean trying to breathe in for 8 counts and out for 8 counts as if you were an ocean wave. It might sound something like this. And that concludes our spinal tour. I hope you've enjoyed this virtual museum. Feel free to explore on your own, return to it later, make a postcard, watch the videos, and explore your spine.
Thank you, Ree. My spine is certainly feeling much better. Up next, we have a piece which is a visual podcast conversation between Michael Fitzsimmons and Nolan Lindberg about a new game that they've created entitled Thrashball.
Thrashball is a game where two teams of adventurers work against each other to try to get a ball into the other team's goal. They can do this through catching and passing, interrupting the pass, stealing the ball, stabbing the other adventurers, using magic to help them, and sometimes even throwing the smaller teammates. Thrashball was originally a mini game that, Mike Fitzsimmons designed in D&D, or?
No. So I was coming up with a campaign and I wanted a sport because I wanted to subdue the masses and get that idea into a campaign. And I was like, a sport in D&D would have to be pretty arena-like. But I like the idea that if a town was full of adventurers, they wouldn't want to just murder each other and do it in front of people for sport. So the idea of Thrashball came up where they have a way to respawn people after dying in combat, and they could do it for entertainment and for glory. And that's where the idea of Thrashball came from. When coming up with Thrashball, we wanted to make sure that it was still team-oriented like D&D normally is, but the only difference is this time you're just versing another team with the same objective as you, which comes up with an interesting dynamic to play with because you have to choose between playing objectively and getting your ball into the goal, or if you'd rather try and just take out the whole team and then walk the ball into the goal. I mean, both objectives are totally viable in the game.
We wanted to take Thrashball from just a D&D minigame to a full-fledged board game so that people wouldn't have to read 3 rule books to know how to play it. Just make it simpler, pare it down, and optimize the system of rules for specifically Thrashball as opposed to all of D&D.
Some things that get in the way of people playing D&D is the fact that it does take a good amount of equipment to start playing. Sometimes you can get it for free. It's a little bit of a hassle to do that way, but you need at least a player's handbook and a Dungeon Master's Guide. You need dice. You need some way of keeping track of where you are in a location, and those things can sometimes add up quick and become daunting. So we thought it'd be nice if this game could just contain itself and take away some of the hassles of actually learning D&D, and maybe even get people interested in playing D&D itself.
To win Thrashball, you need to score 3 points 3 times before the other team does. To get a point, you can run the ball into the goal, or for 2 points, you can throw the ball into the goal, or throw a smaller character who has the ball into the goal, still for only 2 points.
The whole objective of having you have to do it 3 times in a row is so that there's points in the actual game where you can get your skills and abilities back, so you don't feel like as the game progresses you're just losing your action economy. You can keep it going by refreshing every time one team gets 3 points. But the game doesn't refresh until a team scores 3 points. So we broke up the stats for Thrashball, so they're a little bit simpler than D&D stats. Instead, we have 6 stats now for Thrashball, the first stat being Strength. Strength determines how powerful your melee attacks are and also contributes to your health pool. Dexterity helps with throwing the ball, catching the ball, intercepting the ball, and then also making ranged attacks. Magic is what you use to cast spells, and it's also what characters use to resist spells. Movement determines how fast your character is and how quickly they can navigate the board. AC is how we determine how hard it is for your character to be hit by someone, whether it is a melee or a ranged attack.
Instead of character sheets, Thrashball uses character cards, little pieces of cardboard that tell you what your character can do and show you what abilities your character can use. Each class gets an active ability, which they can choose to do on their turn, and a passive ability that happens outside of their turn.
So for Thrashball, we broke up characters into character cards because in D&D, the characters are a big part of the game, and there are just so many abilities and cool things they can do, but we just couldn't fit it all into the game. So we tried to do justice by breaking each one down separately. So each character card gets one active ability and one passive ability. Each character has different ways of casting with the exception of a few. So the spellcasters in Thrashball are wizards, sorcerers, warlocks, clerics, paladins, druids, rangers, and bards. These characters will draw cards randomly, a different amount for each type of spellcaster, and a different type for certain spellcasters. We have 3 different types of magic. There's nature, arcane, and divine magic.
For example, a character card could be a barbarian, someone whose active ability could be to fly into a rage and to deal more damage and to take less. And his passive ability is that he can move a little bit further. Or a cleric, who has the ability to heal from afar and to max out all of his healing magic. So it gets his team back up and fighting. No adventurer stays dead for long on the field of Thrashball. As soon as your HP goes to 0, you are teleported away, healed, and put back in the gate where you started.
It was unfortunate that we couldn't actually bring Thrashball to life for the First Friday event, but we still plan to and want to, and we made this video to inform you about what it was going to be and maybe get you excited. After the event is over, we will definitely post up a website where you can also get the rules if you want to look it up or even try playing it yourself.
Thank you so much for watching this video, and we hope you're excited for Thrashball.
Excellent. All right. Thank you, Michael, and thank you, Nolan. Now we have David Navoa with his live projection mapped installation entitled El Ombligo, the Scar of Birth. This installation will display the cycle of life and its journey to find our inner central balance through collaging Mexican mythology and autobiographical experiences. Just get this title up. Sorry about that. Take it away, David. I'm gonna just share here.
Before we enter El Ombligo, the scar of birth, let's take this moment. Before we enter El Ombligo, the scar of birth, let's take this moment to reconnect, recover, and reinvent. Before we enter El Ombligo, the scar of birth, let's take this moment to reconnect, recover, and reinvent.
The scars that was given to us at the end of the journey. The umbilical cord. The umbilical cord. The center. El ombligo. The center. El ombligo de la luna. The journey. The journey of birth. Cosmic. Cultura. Childbirth. Push and pull. Life and death. The center. The center of the moon. Our inner circle. Our inner selves. Who are we? What are we? The umbilical cord, the highway, oxygen, food, life, lifeline, el ombligo, the scars. To remind us of the journey our mother went through.
All right. Thank you, David. Thank you very much. Well, we've arrived at our final piece of the evening, and this is a piece by Trayvon Thompson, aka Crown Hatchet Productions, in collaboration with TJ Brown. The piece is entitled Mabui. This presentation is a cross-cultural exchange telling the origin story of hip-hop dance with a backdrop of Ryukyuan history. The Ryukyuan people believe that in the concept of Mabui lies the essence of their soul. Please enjoy. All right. Thank you, Trey, and thank you, TJ. Well, we have reached the end of our program. I just want to say one more huge thanks to the Phoenix Art Museum for letting us hang out in your universe. It's been a real pleasure. I also want to say that I am unbelievably proud of all the labor, ingenuity, creativity, tenacity, curiosity that all of the artists of this showcase have put forth. And thank you all very much for coming and supporting them. We're going to do just a little informal hang Q&A for anyone that wants, but this is officially the end of the show part of the show. So any students or artists that want to jump back on, anybody that has questions, feel free to drop questions in the chat and we will answer them. And this will be organic and go for as long as it needs to. Christian, do you have any other notes or housekeeping that needs doing?
No, just thank you all so very much for being a part of this experiment as we move into a more digital world for the time being. And again, thank you all so incredibly much for your patience as we figure this out. And again, the students for honestly making this all happen. Very, very appreciative. And it's been a pleasure working with you all. And I can't wait to be able to do this again in person in the museum. And yeah, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. So yeah, I don't really know if there's a structure to this or if anybody has questions or curiosities, or we can just all bugger off and whatnot.